Hello, everyone. We are back. Sorry, I'm missing last weekend. I am trying to do more live streams. So, today, if you saw a video I posted about what is VARZ, um, that explains it a bit. I wanted to dig a little bit more into this to just kind of show you what the game is about and everything. So yeah. And then after that, I am gonna start working on my own TCG. It's been something I've been working on for a while, but I'm gonna start from scratch, build it from bottom up. So, no further ado here. All right. I am choosing to start to use red. Unfortunately, with Tabletop Simulator, there's no AI that you can fight against. I wish, but there isn't. Alrighty, and then I have not memorized any of that stuff. Alright. So, let's see here. What was it? Alt. That's right. Okay. So, game is pretty straightforward. Goal is to reduce your opponent's life to 0 or destroy all of their portals. Destroying portals also reduces their life. So really it is mostly just reducing their life, but you can either do it by attacking their hero or by attacking their portals. Portals tend to be easier. So some heroes may be a little bit easier to attack, especially if you are red, since whenever you attack, you get +1 power. So base stage or base form, you'll have 5 power. For others, Saya, she'll only have 4, but any summons, she can reduce the cost of it by 1. You summon to a hex next to her. All right. Okay, so I'm back here. I don't need to worry about that. Yeah. Destroy portals or overpower your opponent's hero. Portals will have abilities, if I recall. I think that's what they were planning on doing when the game releases. It is on Kickstarter now, so go ahead and look them up. Hey, Lori, how's it going? But go ahead and look them up. I will actually post a link in the chat. Here we go. Do that. Alrighty. And afterwards, I'll post the link in the description. Anyway. Back to this window. Okay. So, we've got a few different card types. You've got your hero. Every deck has a hero. You've got your portals. Again, these are just to basically you attack your opponent's portals to win the game. You've got your skill slash energy deck. Use these cards to cast spells and summons. And then you've got your main deck where all of your spells and summons are located. Okay. Yeah, and sync and unsync is just tap and untap. If you're familiar with Magic the Gathering. And okay, so you start off with 5 cards. 3, 5. Oh yeah, I forgot. You can actually pick unwanted cards, place them at the bottom of the deck when you're starting off. And then you reveal portal cards. That's what they look like. Okay. Game setup. Okay. So then, yeah, when you start, you that. So in my case here, I just have energy. There are skills. So I've got 2 energy that I can play with. And each turn you are allowed to move up to your movement. Default is 1. So if you don't have a movement like I don't, you move 1 spot. And then the beauty of this is that you can place summons anywhere. All right, what is this one then? Okay. So drop means when they are basically defeated. Oh, opponent's hero would normally be right there. So do that. First person is not allowed to attack or anything. So, yeah. Let's see here. Player will play. Second player can attack on their first turn. And then you end up drawing, I believe you draw up to so that you have 5 cards. No, I think you only draw 1. Let me double check. Here. Draw 1 card. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, draw 1 card. In this case, and then get 2 of those. And right here, I've got a skill card. So with this, I can use this, give me a +2 to attack. But I would have to sink this as well as one of these. I typically don't do that here, especially against something like blue. I mean, against blue it would work, but attacking Yoka outright is not typically good because she reduces damage by 1, so it's kind of pointless normally. So in case I could just do that, bring that out, then I can attack. So attacking with this one would not be a good idea. Cost 1, power 1, shield life 3. So I could attack this if I had, because it would lower their sealed life a little bit by 1. But I would need more monsters to be able to attack this, and this only also has 1 power. So if I move this over here, then I could do that. But there would be no point, because I could attack with Mott City, take out the Holy Gate, bring them down by 3. And because summoning sickness exists, I cannot attack with this guy. But this card cannot be blocked, which makes him brutal. Yoko would attack, would do her stuff, and we would continue. This is basically back and forth like this. So, because I reached level 6, I basically evolved my hero. So now my power is 6. Deal 1 damage to each non-red unit adjacent to attack target. This deck is all about overwhelming power. So, as is typically with red decks. So now that I have 6, I do have so with this one here, if I something like that, I play that, and land is basically a portal and all adjacent cards. This card would only affect the summons though. So if they had Yoka had basically surrounded this portal, I could target that land and deal 4 damage to all of the spells or all of the summons. So very brutal, useful card. Something like energy drink. I can move it to useful if I've already moved. So if I moved Matsuri here, I could use that to move it again. So red is not very good at movement. And then I have this. This essentially if they've got their own summon out and it is synced, I can just take it out. So I would just automatically defeat it, which is insanely useful. But in this case here, that there, reheat, and +2 power. So that would actually be useful in this case to power up my rat. Let's give it 2 power. And this would basically allow, this basically gives it trample. So that would allow this guy to take out this portal, doing 2 damage. Even this open to then take out this portal, doing 3 damage. And then this one take out this portal, doing another 3 damage. Now, with if they had a summon here, or like any of the spots surrounding a portal and attack the portal, regardless of where they're attacking from, if I have any adjacent units, summons, hero, or anything next to that portal, I can use it to defend, as long as it's not synced. This makes yellow deck really good, because yellow gets to attack and defend. Because a lot of their monsters, and including hero, does not tap or sync when they attack. So, and basically go that way. They, on their next turn, they would also end up evolving. They get armor, they get flying, they get to choose one of their skills to unsync it and basically use it again, or use it as energy and then use it again, or just use it as energy twice. Yeah, so let's see here. You have silver, which is all about movement, very tactical, very strategic deck. Yellow, very defensive. So this side, they basically are able to search their skill deck and place it in the holder here. Let's take a look here. Noir. Yeah, teleport 2. And then, so they can basically teleport any 2 spots. So teleport here, they could teleport here, they could teleport here, 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 here. Teleport does allow them to go over opponents, if I recall correctly. Purple, I fought against purple once. It was a pain. Don't ever allow them to overwhelm you with summons take out their summons quickly because curses are a pain. They increase any, if say this was Tamaki, any damage done to my hero increases by 1. So yeah, it gets to be a pain, especially when you've got, like, I have my hero here and they have 4 of those guys cursing. I mean, that's 4 additional damage to Matsuri. Saya, I believe there was talks about maybe adjusting her a bit, but basically it allows you to overwhelm them with summons. It allows you to reduce cost of summons. You reveal, you get to draw a card, which is pretty nice, but this reduces the cost of summons to adjacent hex by 2. So something like Haunted Lantern would only cost 1. I believe the minimum is only 1. So yeah, that's about it. I mentioned it's a pretty straightforward game. It's doesn't take a whole lot to learn. If you know Magic, you'll catch on with this pretty easily. It's just adding more layer with movement and stuff. So, as I mentioned in my previous video, it is, it's recognizable mechanics, but still kind of feels fresh, like a fresh game. So, like, I've played a lot of TCGs, and some of them are kind of not very straightforward, not very fun. Where numbers is all that matters here, movement, positioning matters more than most anything else. Because, I mean, you can have a bunch of power 1 monsters overwhelm a portal. Like these 2 alone could take out this portal. So, or you can place them down next to your portal and use them as defense. So, because, I mean, if she came down and attacked the portal with power of 6, I can block with one of my monsters, and unless if she has Overstrike, the only thing that happens is my little soul peep would go to the abyss, and that do 2 damage to Yoka. At the end of every turn, you fully heal. So, do damage when you can, as much as you can. But if you have no way of knocking them out, don't play. I wouldn't worry about playing cards. It's like Magic. I mean, you can attack with a 1/1 creature against and target a 4/4 creature. Lose your 1/1 creature. That 4/4 creature is 3/4, and they'll be back up to 4/4 after the combat. So that's all. It's same idea. Alrighty. So that's really all I wanted to share on this. Let me close out of here. And bring this up. Okay. Okay, new folder. So, with the ideas that I've had with this, like VARZ, the idea was, which I was making this TCG before I heard of VARZ, but the idea is that you would have a hero. Um, Heroes are all unique with stats, powers, uh, and very unique ways of playing. I do not plan on having like types. There are factions, um, and there are cards specific for factions. Um, I am looking at having two resources, which kind of helps to diversify game a bit. So you would have energy and coin. Haven't figured out what I wanted to name either of these yet. Energy is mostly is going to be for spells, attacks, defenses, um, that kind of thing. Coin is mostly going to be for equipment and items. So far, with the factions that I have, factions are going to be based upon the universe. So this is going to be a clash of a multiverse. Um, they are fighting for survival. So their world starts melding with another. And heroes from each faction end up coming into these fights. Winning ultimately gets them more power, allowing them to destroy the other universe. One of those things that you either destroy your opponent or you get destroyed, kind of thing. So it's not so much that they want to. Or at least one of the factions may want to. The other one does not really, but they don't really have a choice. Not if they want to live. So, the first one is focused on equipment and items. They are inventors. I am looking at it as like a steampunk style. When I was coming up with names previously, I was using ChatGPT to kind of give me ideas. Gear Stride Dominion was what was provided. These guys don't have any ability to cast spells. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. They do. Just if you only focused on their faction, they will have no magic. It's all equipment. However, some of the warriors will have energy. So, but their main stat is going to be coin. Like their uh, their equipment, their items are what's going to allow them to attack and defend. They're going to have things like shields, rifles, um, to handle the energy aspect of their attacks. One of the resource cards that they will have are going to be batteries. These will these are kind of installed on equipment and have a certain amount of charges based upon, and they'll last as long as the weapon is able to attack. Batteries can be replaced, they can be recharged, kind of thing. So, say you've got a battery with 5 energy and a rifle that does 2 damage for 1 energy. You get 5 shots off. Then you can use energy cards that, or recharge cards that can fully recharge a battery. Or remove that battery, discard it, and put another one in place. However you want to do it. Both are useful. The others, I actually can't remember what I had named them, but they are spellcasters. So they're the other side of this here. So they don't tend to have equipment or items. They are more focused on attacks, spells. Their biggest thing is going to be, and this is kind of one item that I have thought about, is like what sets them apart and what sets this game apart. This game is going to be, I want to allow for multiple people in a battle royale or in team fights. And I kind of want it to be unlimited in a way. And kind of how I am envisioning this would be like, if you think about like a school cafeteria, elementary school, you've got the long tables, sit at the table, you face your opponent. With Gearstrike Dominion, they may only be able to attack those around them. So, say we've got a huge, massive tournament going on, or battle royale going on, 30 people, just random number. You'll probably would have to do this in pods, so you'll have multiple people going on at the same time. And what I'm thinking here is that for like Gearstride, you're in the middle, you've got 5 people around you, 1 to each side, and then 3 in front. It'll be like that pod. So you may be in a couple of different fights total. But logistics, I'm not going to worry about right now. That is kind of what I envision. It would be cool if like I could be at one end of that table in number 1 spot, and then someone in 30 spot can also end up attacking me. Like that would be kind of fun. But that might be more of something that would be more easily done in a digital sense. But again, that's a way into the future kind of thing. Build up towards that. But otherwise, I mean, I kind of see 4, 6 people. I've heard people playing Magic the Gathering Commander and having like 12 people play, and taking like 8 hours to do, but I don't want these fights to take that long. So that's kind of the one thing I don't want to add more people and have it just take longer and be more boring as players are waiting. So, anyway, back to what I was thinking. With the spellcasters, sorcerers, they are able to attack multiple people. So in a battle royale, they can cast a spell and divvy out damage on everyone. Some spells will be like 2 damage per player. Other spells will be like 6 damage. But with spellcaster, they can be like, okay, 6 damage total. I'll do 3 to them, 2 to them, and 1 to this other person. So they are able to control the battlefield more. So they could cast spells with alignments and could potentially lock down the whole table in a fight. That's kind of what I am looking at there with them. For flow of battle, I am thinking a turn it will be so one other mechanic I'm thinking about having in this is each character will have like a specific hand size. I haven't decided how I'm going to do that yet. I was going to do that for health as well. Like a character is going to would have like 40 health, but the health determines how many cards you have in your deck. Because when you drain of, so when you get attacked, you would discard from your deck. But I don't know if I want to do that. UFS did that. UFS also had the hand size thing, and it's cool. But their deck sizes are like 30 to 40 cards, I think it is, or 20 to 30 cards. Point is being game is meant to be really quickly played. I don't think I really want to do that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do think I am thinking that characters will have certain levels of health. And when we get to the stats that I want to do for the characters, I'll kind of do that. So, anyway, the way I envision this is you would have a 7 cards in your hand. On your turn, you can play equipment or items. Oh, first off, you would have your energy. So your character may get 2 energy per turn, or like 4 coin, or both. Some characters will have access to both, or equipment can give you energy or whatnot. So, cover resources. So, any resources on your card, energy or coin, you gain each turn. Unspent does not go away. So, you can just keep adding if you need to. Maybe not. Okay, anyway, play equipment or items. That's going to be the meat of your turn. There will be a limit on equipment. I am thinking like 3 pieces of equipment. The inventors or Gearstride may have more. I'm thinking with their factions ability, each faction I want to have like a special ability. So I'm thinking with Gearstride, their faction ability may be to allow like 2 more pieces of equipment. And then after you play that, then you would throw out an attack. Opponents would defend. And then it would kind of go back and forth like that. After you are done, I do kind of want to limit drawing cards. I mean, I would, of course, have them in there, but I don't want it to be like Pokemon and Magic where you're just like draining your deck of cards and being able to attack like 100 times a turn. So that just kind of drinks things out too much. And then after you're done attacking, turn ends. So, quick turn. I don't know if I really want to put too much into like being able to link targets or anything like that, or link attacks. So combos. I may have a little bit of that, but I feel like that kind of just maybe it doesn't ruin the game, but I tend to have the most fun when I am not when I can build a fairly bad, not a great deck, but still be able to come out on top because I am able to respond appropriately to situations. But again, early stages, so yeah. Attacks will be like firing guns, attacking with some kind of weapon, or attacking with spells. So conserving energy is important because defense will come in forms of like dodging and blocking. Shields and stuff will be important. So, yeah, I guess let's go ahead and kind of get into let's get into stats for character. Now this is a huge mess here, but all right. So stats for character. I am looking at when I look at stats, I think about counters to those stats. So like a character who, well, I'll just put it out here. So you're gonna have your resource pool, and this will be health, energy, and coin. Then you'll have your attack pool. And this let's see here. What was I do on this? So you would have power. This would be how strong your attacks are. This will apply to all attacks. This is basically bonus damage. Maybe do accuracy. So someone with a high power may have a lower accuracy, and vice versa. And then defense pool. And this one is going to be speed, or may just call it dodge, and toughness or block. So within here, so a faster character is probably not going to be able to handle taking damage as much, and someone who can take tank damage may not be able to defend very much or dodge very much. On top of that, a speedy character may be more accurate, but they may not be able to attack very much or do much damage. A tough character may be less accurate but contain more power. But not necessarily. So each pool is basically going to have a give and take. A higher speed, lower toughness, or higher dodge, lower block. Higher power, lower accuracy. Higher accuracy, lower power. Resource pool is where it's going to be a little bit interesting. Higher health, if you've got a higher toughness, you're gonna end up having a higher health. If you've got a higher dodge, you're gonna have a lower health. Energy and coin, they play off one another. So higher energy, lower coin. Higher coin, lower energy. But what I am thinking about here is that for all characters, this is going to be about assigning a certain amount of points per pool. So, say for this, you assign like 15 points. Attack pool, we could do 10, and defense pool, do 10 again. So on average, health, energy, and coin get 5 each. Health, your total health would be, or total health for this would be 10 times that. So health would be like 50. Or maybe I should do, yeah, because I want it to be high, but I don't want it to be like, do 50. Doing attacks that only do like 1 damage can really feel, 1 or 2 damage could really feel brutal. Especially with toughness and block. So with block, you are absorbing some damage. So say with block, you gotta block 10. So that's your base. So you are a tank. For anyone to be able to do any damage to you, they would need to do a minimum of 11 damage. Now, I mean, if someone had like 10 power, I mean, that's an additional 10 damage. So yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. So yeah, toughness block 10. So doing 11 damage, if you had like 50 health, it would knock down, you'd be down to 49. In a 1v1, that could take a little bit to knock you down. But would be, I don't think it would take a while. And in a fight in a like a battle royale, you'd probably have a lot of attacks coming after you. So yeah, I don't think that would really be all that slow when I think about it. Speed or dodge, that is, again, plays off of accuracy, so its counter is accuracy. So if someone had a dodge of 10, the attacker had an accuracy of 5, they would need to somehow add 6 accuracy. So this comes with smart. No. This is a character card. So attack card. Anatomy of the attack card. Attack card will have damage. It will have accuracy. I should probably just say power. Power, accuracy, and cost. Which is almost always just going to be energy. So, if I've got a base accuracy of 5, I could play, and I play an attack, a power 6, I would need an accuracy of 6. In order to bypass their defense. With dodging, it's all or nothing. So if they have an attack that is 11 accuracy, and I've only got a dodge speed or dodge of 10, then I would need to play a defense card. So defense card will include dodge or block, because you can increase your block with defense cards, and then cost. And again, we'll always use energy. So I am thinking here. So on your turn, you definitely don't want to utilize all of your energy. Just simply because you may need it for defense. Now, if your deck is strictly for attacking, and you don't care, then fine. Generally, decks like that might be better with a higher toughness or block stat. That way, you can tank hits and just pummel your opponent. So I do think there will be characters that might have a higher block and a high accuracy, but maybe low power and low dodge. I think dodge is going to be more for the attacks that will, or the decks that will be more defensive. But everyone's basically going to have both. I mean, some may have a 0 in a stat, but you can still add stuff. So if they end up getting an accuracy of 15 on their attack, and I've got a dodge of 10, I could instead, if I don't have enough energy to completely dodge it, then I might be able to block it. So say I only have 1 energy, I could play a card that might increase my block by 2. So their power is only like 4 on their attack, then I only take 2 damage instead of the full thing. So defense is always 2 stages. Can I dodge it? No. All right, then my block comes into play. And equipment and items can definitely help augment all of these stats. So you might have, like, say, an exoskeleton that increases your energy by 2 and maybe your power by like 4. So your base power, you might have power 10, accuracy 0, but you end up having like power 14. And then maybe you have another one, like maybe a scouter or something that increases accuracy by 5. So character stats are not end all be all, and you can use items and equipment to augment those to kind of help balance you out a bit. That's kind of what I am thinking. Another goal of mine. Here. Another goal would be no card is useless. Now, I suspect most TCGs have that thought in their head. So, there will always be cards that will probably never get played because it's just not good enough or it doesn't fit into enough people's strategies. So most TCGs, a lot of people will look at the decks that are doing well and build around that. I've never been one to do that. I don't care to do that personally. So I've always been the type that look at the cards that are not good and see kind of how it works. See if I can make it work. Like going back to Pokemon days, I know I've talked about my PETA deck back during base set. Where like the Pokemon I chose are the Pokemon that no one used or only used for their evolutions. So, like Machop. Machop was not a bad card. It's just, why have Machop when you can have Machoke or Machamp? Better cards. And Machamp wasn't all that great, but with the fighting deck, it wasn't too bad. Um, Definitely one of the bigger damage dealers. So using Machop, which took one fight energy for 20 damage, which I mean was a good amount of damage for one energy at that time. Anyway, now it's now it's like one energy you could do like 500 damage. It seems like, um, but you would have Machop, you had Staryu. Now Staryu also won water energy for 20 damage, but only had 30 hit points, whereas Machop had 50. But Staryu was, I mean, you use Staryu to get to Starmie. That was its only purpose. But I didn't have Starmie in my deck, or did I have Machoke or Machamp. It was just Machop and Staryu. Now, I will say this deck was based off of one that I read in a magazine. I just altered it. It was enough alterations that it became a completely original deck. Um, so it was just based off of another one. And then, of course, I had Rattata. But I also did have Eradicate. That was my heavy hitter in the deck. I mean, when you can deal half your opponent's current life in a single hit, that's pretty good. And then, of course, I had my trainers to help augment and make it better. Um, so yeah, no card useless. I think the biggest thing with that is that as new sets come out, I don't want to make the original set or any previous sets feel like it's they're no longer useful. Like I want a character out of the original set to be able to fight against someone who has the 20th expansion and be on equal footing. That's what I would like to do. So, whether or not the cards are useful for a person's deck strategy, that's a whole other thing. I don't think there's much I could do about that part. So, but um, these two factions were what I was going to start with. I did have ideas for two other factions, so I may have the first set be a 4-faction set. The next one would be a barbarian. The barbarians are more focused on power ups, so temporary boosts. And so you see in each of these are going to be completely different. So barbarians are going to be a lot of power ups. They will use some equipment and some items, but are not going to be as much. So I haven't decided what I want for their power. Maybe um, power ups last for like an extra turn. So you may get like a boost that gives plus 10 to power. Just throwing a random number out there. Um, that normally lasts for only one turn, but may last for another turn. Um, And power-ups will always cost energy. Now, it might come in the form of an item, in which case it'll be coin and energy. So that's where we start getting into the hybrid cards. So you might do like a steroid, for lack of a better word, that will boost your power by like 5 or something, but might cost 2 energy to use. But it'll last for 2 turns. The other one I wanted to do is Summoner. This is basically more like your typical Magic. This is focused on allies, summoning monsters. So 1 cost summons that then they can do damage. And so they're going to be more focused on energy. But they can use things like power-ups and items on their summons as well. So this would be the faction that if you want more of like a Magic the Gathering kind of feel. One other thing, so yeah, these were the 4. The thing, one of the things I wanted to do was, since this is by nature multiversal, I wanted to get some IPs into this. So like I could do a Dragon Ball faction, I could do a Naruto faction, One Piece faction, even go outside of anime and do like Star Wars faction, a Star Trek faction, a Stargate faction, Firefly faction, stuff like that. Dungeon Crawler Carl faction, Primal Hunter faction, Wheel of Time faction, stuff like that. But again, that is a dream more than anything. So, but yes, each IP would be its own faction, and there would be a specific mechanic to those factions. So each faction is going to have its own mechanic for it. So Gear Stride or the Inventors would be equipment and items. Spellcasters, its big thing is area attacks. Barbarians, power-ups, summoners, allies. I also eventually want to bring in like healers, which would, as term mentions, would be focused on healing. Healing you or allies. Something like Dragon Ball Z would be focused on like transformations. But, or maybe even just like the Dragon Balls. Because I did kind of want to bring in transformations at some point in here. So, yeah, that's kind of the basis. HO HP. Energy. Queen. Power. Accuracy. I don't need you. Accuracy. Dodge. Block. Okay. Alrighty. So let's think about names real quick here. So, steampunk. I kind of envision them being more like an authoritarian society. Authoritarian society that is like an oligarchy. So, oligarchy, authoritarian. So, kind of envision like heavy military, thus the original name, Dominion, kind of comes across as that. So, let's see here. I kind of want to keep Dominion. Or maybe something that doesn't sound as scary, something like Federation. Something not as scary, but still kind of feels more authoritarian. Commonwealth, Federation. Hmm. All right. Let's see here. Name itself. I don't know what it is. And that invokes invention. Hmm. Hmm. Um, Gizmo Opus Federation. Um, Innovation. Hmm. Innovation. Not the Innovo Commonwealth. Play on innovation. We'll come back to that. Spellcasters, I kind of envision them more as like a peaceful, studious group. More that I think about Lenovo, it kind of reminds me of Lenovo. So maybe not. Too much IT work. Um, let's see here. So something that invokes arcane. Hmm. Mm, that's arcane related. Curious, mystic, cult. Good night. Esoteric. Penetrable. Hmm. Something like Arcult. Arcane occult. Barbarian. That invokes strength. Vision going more towards like tribalistic, tribal related, but that also kind of is playing off of stereotypes. I don't really want to do that. I mean, what if we did something that is opposite of what you'd envision barbarians to be? Maybe they're like a peaceful, loving people who live with nature and typically utilize their power ups to help. It could be interesting. So maybe they're more like hippie like. That would be funny. like Starbud comes to mind. And again, it's it is funny that like the spellcasters, I'm going the more stereotypical route of being studious, the more the invention route. I'm kind of playing more off of kind of feeling of more like no, Full Metal Alchemist. They feel very kind of authoritarian, but similar ideas. Summoners, maybe they're more like farmers, ranchers on their world. So like they can summon these scary beasts, but to them, it's just it's normal. I mean, summoning something like a six-headed Hydra, they may use for I don't know, Hydra meat. I like the idea of ranchers. Well, maybe we'll do this is a 5. So, healers. So kind of when I think of healers, I think of more of the clerics, the religious lot. Question is, do I want to go down that road? Or do I want to do kind of like the barbarians and do opposite what they normally are? So, like, healers are like, yeah, I mean, it would make sense if you got like a planet known for healers, they may end up being more risk takers. So they're like daredevils. More prone to violence, more may drink alcohol more often or take narcotics more often because they can heal it all, so it doesn't matter to them. Yeah. Okay. that could be fun. All right, so one of the other goals that I wanted here is that I want to showcase artwork. So the art on these cards are not going to be consistent. There's going to be various styles. Themes will remain the same. So, like, Innovo will always kind of have that more authoritarian or oligarchy look. So lots of gold, very very uniformed presence. I do want some characters in there that are kind of opposed to that, like the rebels. So, like, one of the characters I want to have who is an inventor may not have a bunch of coin, but has more energy and builds around that and is more of like a thief. So, like, maybe her character ability, which is another thing I want to have with characters. Character ability would be to steal resources. I haven't decided, but I thought whether or not I want to use dice. So attacks may go along the lines of like D&D, where an attack might be like 1d4 or 1d6. Like, that could add. Now, the only problem I have with that is I don't really want it to feel like a complete luck. So maybe dice isn't a good idea. Because, I mean, like, my roommate, for example, who I play D&D with all the time, he struggles to roll anything above like a 5. Matter of fact, 5 is his most common roll on a d20. So 1 to 5 is very common for him. So in a card game that relies on that, kind of hurts anyone who is terrible on luck. Like, there's already a level of luck involved with drawing cards. A lot of games get around that by allowing you to look at top X amount of cards and rearrange how you want, or draw cards. And just how you build your deck can help you deal with that. But dice rolling, it's hard to deal with that. The only way to really deal with that is to add bonuses, but I mean, in D&D it kind of makes sense. It is a dice game. In card games, it is a card game. It's not. I mean, I could add a faction that is based on luck. So they could like potentially do more damage or less damage. Um, so like they might be able to down. So they might be able to spend energy that would be equivalent to like a weak attack, but be able to maybe do up to 3 times as much as the typical attack would normally be able to at that had cost of only like 2 energy. So like taking Fate into your hands could potentially be do less damage than you normally would be able to. So that could be an interesting faction. I would probably build a deck around that faction because I like chaos. And maybe that faction forces others in that. So I think we've got a good place here. I think next stream, I should say, which should be next Saturday. I don't see why not. I can put we can start actually plotting out cards, starting with characters. Maybe we'll focus on like faction abilities or work our way to the characters. That way we can plan characters around those faction abilities. So yeah. And I think we're gonna be done today. So yeah. Yeah. We'll go ahead and end it there. A little over an hour and a half streaming session. I do have other things I gotta take care of today. So problem with working full time, the only weekends are the only availability, really. And work has made it difficult to do anything outside because I've been pulling in some overtime. So, yeah, IT, security stuff, fun. Actually, I do enjoy it. It is actually pretty fun. So yeah, I might end up working with AI, like Claude or something, to let me come up with a program to help create cards. I mean, I'll be doing the designing and stuff, but I don't know. I know my brother was, when I was originally doing this has evolved from when I was working with him on it. It was originally going to be like a draft and then draft to build your deck and then battle, but the drafting phase just kind of felt very, I mean, interesting, but it there was a felt pointless if you wanted to have a game to go by quickly. Oh yeah, I already have deck size. Okay, so yeah, I need to figure out like deck size I want to do, hand size. The other thing I wanted to look at doing, so like with VARZ, I was looking at doing like miniatures for it. And so there'd be like a battle grid people would play on. So position would be important, but that ends up adding whole other things. So we would end up having another stat for like movement. So then we'd have to figure out, okay, so what would be the opposite of movement? Like would a so person that moves quickly might, I don't know. Maybe it would be something like movement, and if you've got higher movement, the overall points in these other pools would be lessened. So maybe lower health. I don't know. It would be kind of fun to mix TCG with miniatures. Something like summoners. The miniatures would be really interesting, as that would ultimately end up like causing a lot. Like you could literally like summon monsters to blocking your opponents, and then that could add things like fly, teleport, and just a whole slew of other mechanics. But do I want to make it that complex is the question. Oh, yeah, before we're done today, the other card type that I wanted to bring up is Nexus cards. So the name of this card game for a while was Astral Nexus. I may end up keeping that name. I kind of like it, but I'm not entirely sure yet. Nexus cards. So the Nexus is basically this crystal. Crystals are essentially a separate character that cannot move. Um, so with Nexus, so there are two ways to win. One, drain your opponent to 0. Second one is destroy opponent's Nexus. The Nexus is basically what allows the characters to teleport, or teleport basically from their world into the multiversal arena. And that a Nexus card gives bonuses. It can provide more energy. A Nexus has health and ability. Well, I should say health, toughness, and ability. Health on each Nexus card will be different. Like I will probably have like twice as many Nexus as I do characters. My goal will be 4 characters per faction for the first set. Each expansion afterwards will introduce a new character in each faction, as well as introducing a new faction. So, which is kind of why I'm thinking about just only doing 2 factions, 4 at most. That way I'm got stuff for future. I also don't want to overrun, create a new expansion every 3 months. That would be terrible. But I'm also doing this alone. So, well, designing the game and everything alone, but I'll be hiring artists to handle the artwork. I've got a few art friends that said that they'd be happy to do some artwork for it. Paying artists is going to be difficult. So yeah, Nexus gets destroyed, you lose the match. So Nexus will end up having lower health. You can play defensive cards on Nexus. You can play item cards on Nexus to increase, to boost it up. So the Nexus is going to be a weaker target for the opponents, but may end up having some really nice abilities to kind of help offset. But yeah, there will only be 1 Nexus per deck, and that'll be out in play. I thought about having like a separate Nexus deck where you have a Nexus and then you could play cards from that deck to bolster your Nexus or your character, but I haven't fully decided yet. I may just keep it to just the character deck. So yeah, reason why I brought that up again, because if we end up doing miniatures and stuff, that could be a game of chess. And something like the Arcult or the Sorcerers, you could end up having it where you provide templates. So, like a fireball, instead of attacks, like you can spread the damage out among everyone. It would have like a large area attack, maybe of like 6 squares or something like that. I don't know. But I do kind of like the idea of you being able to figure out like how you want to spread out the damage. Or keeping it all in one hit. So, yeah. Nexus would just add in a layer. And placement, I mean, have like line of sight and then like come out. Players could literally just create maps that have obstacles and stuff, so you could have rooms or whatnot, fight in a dungeon, that kind of thing. Like that would be kind of cool. The more I talk about it, the more I kind of want to do that. Yeah. I mean, it would be kind of like doing Warhammer mixed with like Magic the Gathering or something. A lot of what I want to do and how to play the game is basing off more of like the Dragon Ball TCG, when Score and Panini had released it. So it's more active combat. It would be more expensive to do that. But I mean, like at the beginning, could just do like markers, like little cardboard markers, and then people could introduce their own minis. That could be fun. I kind of like that actually. I actually really like that. So I think I'm going to try and figure out how to make that work. See what we can do to introduce that and keep it simple. I mean, we're only really adding movement. So it wouldn't be that difficult. And it wouldn't add that much complexity. Abilities would have to have like range. So, and would probably have to mention if it requires line of sight or not. So I mean, you can have like abilities like magic missile, for an example, where you can fire it from around the corner. I mean, that would be kind of cool. Um, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think the sorcerers would be more versatile in the type of attacks. I mean, you could create like walls of fire so that like the opponents have to go through it if they want to get to you. There would be ranged or melee attacks. So maybe melee attacks would make it difficult for your opponent to do ranged. But I'm diving into like D&D rules now, and that's just not all right. Yeah, I'll have to think on this more. Anyway, we got a few more minutes out of this, so all right, yeah. Let me know what you guys think. If you think miniatures would be a good idea, or if you kind of just want to see a more of a traditional card game. I like the idea of miniatures mixed with uh, TCG. I think it could add a layer of complexity, a layer of tactics and strategy. It can be a lot of fun when you have multiple people or team battles. Summoners would be fun in that type of setting too. I mean, imagine just like getting like a bunch of like smaller, weaker, and just having this army that just floods your opponent. That would be so much fun. Filling up the dungeon with just a bunch of monsters and your opponent just like trying to kill as many as they can because you're just sitting back as safe and they can't get to you. It'd be kind of fun. There would be card limits though, so I mean, like, I think max of 4 is what I'd be sitting at right now as far as how many copies. So couldn't really do that, but it would be a legitimate tactic, making summoners scary to play against. But a good counter to like summoners would be casters. So, yeah. And then could do for the Innovo, uh, they can create like automaton, oh, like just automatons to fight. That would be fun. It would take coin to summon them, and then they would run off of energy. So they would require a battery. And like each round, maybe it drains like in energy from the battery. Okay. Anyway, yeah, that is it. Let me know what you guys think. Is there anything you would like to see in this? Any ideas you might have? I want the community kind of be involved in this. So I want to hear your ideas. And with me, it's like if I'm left up to my own devices for this, it'll never get done. I mean, I've been working on this for a couple of years. It hasn't been done yet. I think like 3 years at this point, maybe 4 years total. So I've gotten kind of far and then pulled back and restarted and stuff. This is like version 5 at this point, I think. So, yeah. So let me know what you guys think. And I'll probably create a channel in my Discord to discuss this, so you can let me know. Yeah, we've only got a few people, so also join the Discord. I'll have the link in the description. All right, guys, enjoy your Saturday or whatever day you're watching this on. If you're watching this after the stream, so take care and like and subscribe. We're going to do another giveaway when we reach 300. All right, take care. Bye.